food advantage here, and he has the middle now. I think Nada definitely has the lead now. Fantasy not able to mine. Just look at his resources; they're just totally dwindling. He doesn't have enough gas critically to be able to build anything. Fantasy though, with his 2 cloak rates, managed to pick off a dropship that could have been full of units for Nada. He still has those dropships and tanks remaining. That's his last defending force. Nada needs to be careful still that he doesn't succumb to a surprise attack, as Fantasy is trying to do here at his upper right. But no, Nada going in with SCVs. This is, a nice counterattack with the SCVs here. It's going to use the SCVs to help him counterattack and pick off the last forces of Fantasy. If he can pick off these last tanks, and it looks like he will be able to pick off the tanks. If he can, Fantasy will have no army to speak of. All the rates are down, and now the tanks are down, and now Nada still has 2 Goliaths pounding away at the 3 o'clock expansion. This is going to be a game for Nada. Finally, Nada is going to win this game. Nada still with 2 bases up at the upper left. Fantasy, the 3 o'clock is down. The 7 o'clock might be up, but just barely. The other 7 o'clock, the 9 o'clock, was destroyed recently and now is just up and has almost no patches left. So Nada has a definite advantage, 60 food count advantage, and this is going to be GG for Fantasy once Nada's forces come. Fantasy is not going to be able to resist the remaining, the army of Nadas with his straggling forces. Nada just looking around, cleaning up. He needs to be a little faster than he was last time, though, when he had a very good opportunity to finish the game off, and when he had that large group of tanks and Goliaths at the 7 o'clock, and for some reason he just didn't pull the trigger and just didn't finish off what was almost his game at that point. Anyway, Nada playing, I think overall very well though this game. He didn't lose his cool when he lost his main base. His drop on the main base of Fantasy's really pushed Fantasy to going all in, and it wasn't a fair trade at all. Nada was way in the lead after he took out Fantasy's main, and Nada succumbed to losing his main. Basically, Fantasy took much longer to take out Nada's main, which allowed him to build more supply depots and get more units in the meantime. And Nada had a much stronger economy from his satellite expansions than Fantasy did, so it was much worse for Fantasy to lose his main 3 bases than it was for Nada, but certainly a surprising result. Normally you don't see that, obviously. And Fantasy just left a couple of rates. I think Nada's just going to drive through the middle here with his tanks and just polish off Fantasy. Fantasy at 40 food count, Nada at 116. Yeah, I don't know what Fantasy, what Nada is delaying for. I think Fantasy should pretty much should GG at this point, but Nada, I don't know why he's just not finishing off. He's playing a little too cautiously for my taste. So at this point, I think perhaps he wants to make sure he doesn't lose his army. But I think he doesn't realize the extent to which Fantasy is out of the game right now. That the fact that Fantasy has basically no units up and not even any resources to build anything from his factories or starports. Nada just sweating buckets here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but that is one sweaty programmer there. And I can understand, I mean, I don't know how Firebat Hero managed to play in the last series I casted with a heavy Samson Khan jacket on. And wow, Fantasy doing some nice Wraith micro here. Nada, for some reason, is out of scans. I guess, well, it's not that surprising given that he only has... Well, actually, he should have enough scans to be able to deal with this. Looks like that Wraith... No. That Wraith has done a lot of damage, actually, taking down like 3 dropships already, I think. And continue to harass Nada. Maybe Nada is just a little bit tired now in this game, the second game. It's wearing on him. And there will be another game once he wins this game. It will be Game 3, the deciding game of the series. So we'll see if it's just as long of a game, if these players, how the players' staminas are going to be able to deal with it. Of course, Nada's a little older, but I think Nada is the more experienced player. So I would guess that Nada's his StarCraft stamina is stronger than Fantasy's is. But you can never tell, you know. I mean, you know, Nada has been through so many best of 5s. He's even been through a best of 7, like one of the only best of 7 final series. I think it was in MSL one year. So he's been through some pretty darn long series and hours of StarCraft. So, you know, I think he'll definitely have an advantage going into the third game after about an hour of StarCraft gaming. And here goes Nada's last push here into the base of Fantasy. That one pesky Wraith. It seems like, I don't know if it's the same Wraith, but it's been pesky. That one Wraith has been pesky the entire last 5 minutes of the game. And Nada once again being a little slow here. I think maybe it's because he is afraid of using his dropships, that he's not getting on top of these dropships of Fantasies, but at a 140 versus 66 count here, really Fantasy has no chance. Now Fantasy's new expansion here at the 7 o'clock is going to get taken out. Not a new expansion, but his expansion here. It's still that one Cloak Wraith being annoying. Here comes 3 drop ships for Nada. He's probably going to polish off the game right now. And what was I going to say? By the way, if you want to get more involved in commentating, definitely PM me or just go directly to sc2ge.com. Our forum has a section called Commentators, and we're constantly looking for more commentators because we're definitely expanding right now as a site, and we're trying to cover every single game we can of all the pro StarCraft games out there. So we need new commentators. And when you sign up, just make a post on that forum. And if you already have some videos, make a post on my post. It's stickied up on there about a commentator peer review that I lead. Basically, I'll review every video, one video from every new commentator, and try to give you some tips on how to improve. And that's the best way of achieving fame and fortune in StarCraft commentary, is to get better. And sc2ge.com is the place to do it. Here comes a Desperation Siege here from Fantasy at the upper right, but really Nada is not going to be hurt very much. I think Nada can just drop on top of it or ignore it entirely and just go for the jugular. I'm just very surprised at how long this game is frankly dragging on at this point. I mean, I'm positive that Nada will win. It's just a little disappointing to see him take so long doing it. And yeah, finally here comes the drop and the push in for Nada. Nada now is going to be able to take out that 9 o'clock position. The starport going down here, and Fantasy is going to be forced to concede. Trying to bring up some tanks, last effort to defend. I'm not sure where his production facilities are, but once Nada finds them, I think he can drop or push them, and that'll be it. Fantasy going for another drop on Nada's expansion here, natural expansion. Nada just, like I said, doing a lackluster effort here in terms of just pulling the trigger, basically. He's playing very well when it comes to macro into the mid-game. For some reason, he's just, not pulling the trigger and not finishing off Fantasy, letting him stick around, keep sticking around. Can't get rid of you. Alright, you guys should know where that's from already. I'm just getting a little tired here in this commentary. Yeah. Keep sticking around, he keeps sticking around. Must kid has alligator blood. Can't get rid of him. And here comes a drop on top of Fantasy's remaining forces. That will be GG for Fantasy. Yep. Nada flopped the nut straight, and he slow played it. That's what he did. He was just slow playing Teddy KGB. That's all he was doing. Wanted to slow play Teddy and just make him suffer. No. So Fantasy still not GGing. I mean, what does Nada have to do? Get battle cruisers? Maybe he will. Who knows? Fantasy still with 5 tanks on the last remaining Alamo for him. Nada. Really, at this point, this is the garbage time at the end of the game here, where both players, for some reason, are not finishing it off. Normally, I would be, more happy to see these endgame fights, but this one has dragged much longer than it should have, to be honest. So yeah, guys, definitely check out sc2ge.com for all new commentaries from all sorts of new people. Keep the comments coming. I very much love to hear where you guys are from. Best way of telling me is through messaging me on YouTube. And if you want, how to chat with me or whatever, go on sc2ge.com. GG finally from Fantasy. Long game, Terran versus Terran, and Nada taking it, though, pretty comfortably within the last 20 minutes. Both players look absolutely exhausted. I'm pretty exhausted from doing this commentary. Nada looks like he might be calling for a bottle of water and a towel or something. Wow, Nada is sweaty. He's definitely known for being a sweaty pro gamer, and that booth does not look very well climate controlled. All right, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this long Terran versus Terran game. The final game, Game 3 of Nada versus Fantasy, is coming up.